Hey everybody, it's Kate, the West Coast Paper Crafter. You are joining me for the kickoff project for February's card class at home, featuring the Terrific Toadstools bundle from Stampin' Up! So tonight I'm going to show you how to make this very cute pop-up card. And I've got everything ready to go. So if you are crafting along, you are going to need your scoring tool. I'm just going to move some stuff out of the way and grab my pieces. So tonight for this project, I've got 2 pieces of cardstock. I'm going to use Melon Mambo. These are cut to 4 by 6. I've got 2 pieces of basic white. They're cut to 3 1/4 and 3 3/4. Then I've got some of the patterned paper from the Toadstools Gardens. This is a celebration item. So the bigger piece is 3 1/4 by 1 3/4. And then the 2 small squares are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then I've got another strip of cardstock that is 1 inch by 4 1/2. And I'm going to be using a corner rounder. Now this isn't Stampin' Up, it's just something I've had in my stash for forever. I can't even tell you when I got it. It's just come with me when I've moved homes many times. So sometime in my 20s, I picked up that little corner rounder and I just hang on to it because it's super handy. All right, so I'm going to use that. It's optional. You do not need to use a corner rounder if you don't have one. And what else? I'm going to use tiny bee trinkets and a whole bunch of different colored ink pads. All right, well, let's get started with our scoring. So I've written the scoring measurements right here on the right of the glass mat. So if you want to write that down or take a screenshot, we're going to start by scoring the 4 by 6 paper. All right, let me grab my paper trimmer. Oh, comments are popping up. Hello, Janice. Hello, Carolyn. Yeah, I like Melon Mambo too, except when I stamp it because I get it everywhere. Carissa, it's past your bedtime. Thanks for staying up. I know it's really late for you. All right, so I've got my Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. Now this, I'm just going to move it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, I don't know about other paper trimmers because this is the only one I have, but you can cut and score with a Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, so that's pretty handy. I'm just going to move my cutting blade. Actually, I'm going to take my cutting blade out so I don't cut accidentally. And I've got 1 piece of the Melon Mambo, and again, it's 4 inches by 6 inches. And I am going to score this at 2 and 5 1/2 on the long side. So on the 6-inch side, I'm going to score it at 2. And then I'm going to score it again at 5 1/2. Now flip it around to the 4-inch side, and we're going to score it at 2. All right, so I don't know if you can see the score lines, but I've got score lines at 2, 5 1/2, and 2. We're going to do the exact same thing on the second piece of paper. Hello, Christine. Oh, Carissa, did you order a trimmer? Good for you. You're going to love it. Okay, on the 6-inch side, score it at 2 inches. Hello, Lisa. There's lots of comments. If I miss anybody, I'm sorry. I'll get back to you. So I've scored it at 2. I'm scoring it again at 5 1/2. Flip it around to the 4-inch side and score it in half at 2. So that's all the scoring we need to do on the big pieces. But while we have our paper trimmer out, let's score this strip of Melon Mambo. Again, this is 4 1/2 by 1, and I'm going to score it on the long side at 1/2 inch, flip it around and score it at 1/2 inch again. All right, that's all we need the paper trimmer for. Let's get this out of the way. Now, a little bit of cutting. Don't be afraid. We're just going to cut down the score lines. So on one side of the Melon Mambo, on the long side, I'm going to cut at that 2-inch score line right down to that middle score line that we scored on the 4.5-inch side. Move over to the 5.5-inch score line, and you're going to cut that down right to the score line in the middle, and then you're cutting off that end piece. So you cut that little tab off. So now your paper looks like this. All right, stay with me. Now we're going to cut that last little tab. We're just going to cut angles off the sides. So now your paper should look like this. So you've got one cut here, you've cut off this tab, and then you've cut some angles on that tab that's remaining. Let's do the exact same thing on the other piece of paper. Hey Kate, thanks for tuning in. Okay, so cut that 2-inch line. So we're on the 6-inch side of the paper. Cut along that first 2-inch score line until you meet the middle score line that we scored on the 4-inch side. And then at the 5.5-inch score line, cut it up to that score line in the middle, and then cut that tab off, and then cut angles at that little tab you have left. All right, so now it looks like this, and we are going to glue our box together. Got to get rid of all these little pieces. There's a lot happening with this. So how this works is we are going to fold these little tabs in, and we're going to glue this box together. All right, so this, oh, do I have this backwards? I do. That's fine. So this tab, I've folded it in, and I'm going to glue that to the edge of the other piece of cardstock, and then same thing with this tab. So one tab folded in, we're just going to start one at a time. So I've got this tab folded in. I'm going to add some glue. Now I'm going to use Tombow because that's how I roll. And then I'm taking this other piece of cardstock, the opposite side, so not the side with the tab. I'm going to glue this down on that tab, and I'm just going to line it up so my cardstock is flush. Now, this box that we're making for the pop-up card, it's an open box. It's not going to have a bottom, which makes it really handy because it's going to fold up flat and fit in your card envelope. All right, so now we've glued part of this together. We're going to fold this tab in, add some glue, and then glue this together. This is the hardest part of making this card. Well, hang on, maybe not the hardest part. It might be gluing this piece in the middle. You'll see why when I get there. Hey Karen, thanks for tuning in. All right, so if you have a bone folder, they're handy for getting those edges nice and flat. I always forget about my bone folder. I seem to just do just fine with my fingers, so you guys do you. So I'm adding glue to this tab, and then I'm just going to fold it over. Make sure it's flush, and then I'm just going to push down until that glue sets. All right, so now you just pop it open and we've got a box. Well, a box without a bottom. Okay, so we're going to fold the sides down, the front down, but we're going to leave the back up. So like so. And you know, you can grab that bone folder if you want and really flatten down those fold lines. I'm just going to flip it over. So I've just folded down the flaps everywhere but the back side of this box. Now, if you have a corner rounder, this is where you would go ahead and just round your corners. Oh, I don't know how that happened, but I did a crap job on that. Let me try that again. Better. Maybe it would have made sense to round my corners before I glued my box together, but that's fine. I wish Stampin' Up! Had a corner rounder. I haven't been around long enough. I think that they used to have a corner rounder, but that was before my time. I didn't even know Stampin' Up! Existed until 3 years ago, to be honest. I have no idea. Uh-oh. My corner rounder is... I think I killed it. Oh, I will be sad if I have. I think I did. Okay, that's fine. Let's see. Oh, maybe I fixed it. Hang on. Yeah. It's jamming up. All right, I'm gonna have to order a new corner rounder. Now, this better work for the rest of this card because I don't want any square edges now that I got started. All right, so as I was talking about how I've had this corner rounder since I was 20 years old and it's made many moves with me, then it decided that it needs to retire. Okay, so I've gone ahead and rounded the corners barely. And I'm going to round the corners on my white paper. Now I just want to make sure I've got the narrowest side to round. So I want to round the corners at the top where it's 3 1/4 at the top and 3 3/4 is on the side. So I'm going to round the top when I'm looking at it. So it is 3 1/4, like so. Oh, all right, I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Maybe, let's see. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm on the 3 1/4 side. I just have to keep popping it out every time I use it. I've only got 6 more corners to round. I'm sure it's got 6 more corner rounding left in its life. Yeah, no, I think you're right, Christine. I think I might have to push it from the bottom every time I want to use it. Anyway, that's fine for today. Yeah, it just is old. Like me. It's probably going to need some reading glasses soon. I'm going to have to hand bomb this. Okay. Now, 4 more corners to round. Bear with me. You can do it, little corner rounder. No, you know what? Maybe it can't. That's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line it up with another piece of paper that I've rounded, and I'm just going to hand bomb some rounding because I want everything to be even as I can get. So this works okay. And then I'm going to go on Amazon after this live and I'm going to find myself a new corner rounder. Anyway, I'm feeling lucky that I've got a few pieces here that I can just use as a template. That's working pretty good, actually. Okay, all pieces rounded. Now I've got quite the mess. Let me move some stuff out of the way. My sad little corner rounder that finally might have kicked the bucket. Janice, I do not have an envelope punch board. Where do I get one of those? Yeah, Susan, I did hear that Stampin' Up! Used to have a corner rounder a long time ago. Anyways, I think I want an envelope punch board. I'm just going to fix this one corner because it looks terrible. All right, now, so this piece, we're going to fold on the 1/2 inch score lines. You're going to fold one side in and fold the other side the opposite direction. So you've got this very long Z All right, so one fold in and then one fold the opposite direction. And I would say that the trickiest part for this pop-up card is getting this inside, just so. So when I did my sample, I glued both edges and I stuffed it in there. And I didn't get it placed exactly where I wanted it. So I'm just going to stuff it one end at a time with glue, and it's going to be a little awkward, obviously, when I try to put glue on that other end, but oops, I just don't want it to end up right at the front, which is what happened to me the last time. So I'm just glued one end, I'm gluing it, I don't know if you can see that, I'm gluing it to the inside in the middle, and I'm going to try to get that straight, and then I'm going to fold the box on that little fold. And then here's the tricky part. I am going to finagle some glue on that little inside piece right there without pulling my cardstock off. So I'm just like wedged it up a little bit so I can add some glue there. And then I'm going to pop that in and very gently fold that box. And I'm not going to push too hard because if your glue kind of squishes out a little bit, you don't want to glue your box together. So now I've got this not quite in the middle, but it's going to be just fine. So that's a tricky part of this, is trying to get this in just so. All right. Anyway, it's going to work. Yeah, I know. The corner rounder died when I needed it the most. You're totally right, Connie. Yeah, Christine, Michaels has, and this is probably where I got mine. Michaels many, many, many years ago. All right. Okay. Oh, Jackie, you got one from Amazon. All right. Well, I will check Amazon, but I think now I'm convinced I need a envelope board. Janice, we need to talk more about this later. Now, on one of these pieces of basic white, I am going to stamp a little scene with all the colors that I brought out for this project. I don't know if I'm going to need all these colors today, but let's see. You know, I just realized that I took my chamois downstairs and I had it soaking in the sink and I left it down there. So I'm obviously not going to be cleaning off any stamps while I'm stamping. That's fine. I won't need to. All right, so I'm going to start with Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to do the sentiment. Now, you're going to want to put your sentiment up pretty high on your basic white cardstock. So one's for the inside, the other's for the back. So the second piece is completely optional. Just for Melon Mambo, I thought it might be a nice idea to add a bit of white on the back because it's such a dark color. So, but that's an optional step. Now this, it does get tucked in. I'm just going to want to make sure that my sentiment is up at the top because I'm going to be putting in a bunch of elements that are going to have some height to it. And I don't want my sentiment to be covered up. So I'm just going to use the Poppin' Up to Say Hi in Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to put that close to the top. I'm going to get that stamp out of the way because I cannot clean it off. I didn't bring that. Then I will stamp my mushrooms. So I've got Poppy Parade for one toadstool and Melon Mambo for the other one. Okay, so I'm adding this one fairly close to the sentiment. And then somewhere in my mess, I have got a stem. I'm going to do that one in Early Expresso. And here we go. So I found that with the Early Expresso, I'm going to stamp over this Poppy Parade, and you can tell that I've stamped over the Poppy Parade, but once it dries, it really seems to blend in. So that's lucky, because I don't want it to be so obvious, right? Like that transition. Now, if you have a Post-it note, you can go ahead and stamp this toadstool, cut it out, and use it as a mask if you want. Now, I've already gone ahead and I have pre-stamped one of these toadstools, and a few days ago I just put a whole bunch of little tiny Tombow glue dots on the back of this cutout. Now I didn't punch it out because punching it out is actually a little bit smaller than the stamp itself because there's no white space when you punch this out. So I cut it out with scissors. I put some glue dots on the back and I let that dry for about 48 hours. And then what happens is this is super handy for masking because it's tacky, but not too tacky where it's going to stick permanently on your paper or tear your cardstock when you pull it off. So I did the same thing with the stem. And I'm just going to mask that. And then I'm going to add another mushroom, and I'm going to overlap it a bit so it looks like my one mushroom is coming in behind that bigger mushroom. All right, I don't need Mambo Melon anymore. I'm going to close that up because that is one of the colors that I get on my fingers and it's everywhere. All right, now I'm going to stamp a stem for the smaller mushroom. Now the one thing I would say about when you use a mask like this out of cardstock, they're a little bit heavier or thick, I guess, so you need to have a little more pressure when you stamp to make sure you get right along the edge of where that mask is. So for this one, you'll see it when I take it off, but I didn't do quite enough pressure in between here and there. I'll be the only one that notices it though, so not a big deal. All right, then I have got another little mask. I'm going to cover this and I'm going to add some leaves. And they're just going to, oops, I picked up my mask. They're just going to pop out behind these mushrooms. So I'll take these masks and I will stick them right in my stamp case. And I'll always have them for when I need to do any masking with this set. All right, now I'm going to just pull these masks off and I'll give you a look. All right, so there we go. Just so you can see, I need a little bit more pressure between these two mushrooms, but otherwise it turned out really well. And then when this crumb cake dries, that transition where I stamped over top of the Mambo Melon, it's going to blend in better as well. And then one more thing to stamp. And you might not even see this because I'm going to glue this to the inside of this little pop-up card, but I'm going to add the ground or the grass, like a little grassy hill. All right, that's it for stamping. All right, now this gets glued in here like so. I keep forgetting. I gotta move my camera up just a little bit because I feel like I keep moving my hands out of camera view and that's annoying. I've got a lot of glare. I'll shut that one light off. Okay. Now, hopefully this is dry enough. Dark colors like Mambo Melon, no, it's too dark. You know what, I'm just gonna have to live with the glare. Sorry, friends. I do find that Mambo Melon, Poppy Parade, those darker colors, they almost need a little bit of time to dry before you muss around. Ask me how I know, because I am the queen of getting ink everywhere. So now I'm going to slide this in and just glue that down to the back of our pop-up card. And then I'm going to take my bone folder I'm just going to gently press down so all that glue sticks. Now, if you are keen and you can put this together flawlessly, you can always add this piece before you even glue your box together, but for some reason my brain doesn't work like that and I'm bound to mess it up. So I put my box together first and then I glue on these pieces. But I mean, really, you could glue them on before you put your box together and it's probably going to be easier. My brain just doesn't work like that. I'm just fixing one of my corners. Now I'm going to glue on the designer series paper to the flaps of this little box. Oh, Christine, blues, hey? Yeah. Yeah, for me it's Blackberry Bliss, Melon Mambo, and Poppy Parade. Those are the colors that I tend to get absolutely everywhere. Anyways, Janice, I can't stop thinking about an envelope board. Seriously. I just ordered from Amazon the other day too. I don't order a lot from Amazon because out here in the sticks, it's very common for people to play the game Find Your Package. So you order something from Amazon, they tell you it's delivered, and they take a picture where they delivered it to, but it's not your front door, so you have to figure out which one of your neighbors accidentally gets your package. So not all the time, but enough that I don't love to order from Amazon because I don't want to play that game. I don't like trying to figure out which neighbor has my package. Anyway, Amazon is really good though. There was when my dog Willie, he had surgery and I ordered, or before his surgery, I had ordered a whole bunch of surgery things like one of those blow up cones and some surgery pajamas. Yes, I put pajamas on my dog. And anyway, the package was delivered somewhere in East Soup, but not at my house. And I couldn't figure out which neighbor had it. And we have a Facebook group, but my neighbor that actually had the package didn't see it. So I ended up getting in touch with Amazon and they refunded me the entire bill. And I think it was about $50. Anyway, what ended up happening was a few days later, my neighbor found the package and gave me a ring and I went to pick it up. So I got in touch with customer service and I let them know the package was found. And they just said, keep it and keep the refund. Yeah, I was surprised. I couldn't believe that. It was $50. All right. Now, I have gone ahead and stamped, fussy cut, and punched out a whole bunch of images to build my little card scene. So I wasn't sure, I might not use the grass. We're going to see. We'll just see how much things, we'll see how everything comes together. I'm going to start with my big toadstool. So this one is actually Poppy Parade, but what I had done was I stamped it full strength and then I stamped it in second generation. So it's the same Poppy Parade, just different shades. So I'm going to add one over here. I want to put my big ones kind of in the corner so I don't cover up that sentiment. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue. I'm going to pop it behind that my little piece of cardstock on the inside. Wow, words are hard for me today. Words are hard. And then I'm going to take the darker Melon Mambo and I'm going to add that just a little bit lower. So this is the fun part about this card, is just building your little scene. There's a lot of elements for this, which makes it a really special card to send to somebody when you put so much work and effort into creating something, right? So I've just got two here. I'm going to do kind of the same thing on the other side. I'm going to add my darker toadstool in the corner. I'm going to add the smaller toadstool beside it, and then I'm going to fill in some space with some of the leaves and smaller pumpkin pie mushrooms, which I think are super adorable. All right, we're getting there. I hope you guys like this project. I just think it's so much fun. Okay, so this was one of the projects. I think I might have mentioned this before if you heard me talk about the first one I made, which was with the Darling Dinos bundle. But this was a project that we learned how to do at one of our team events. And I felt super lucky about it because I was seeing other demonstrators make these, but they were big and they didn't fit in a standard envelope. So I thought, well, I need to figure out how to do it, but make it so that it would fit in a regular envelope. And then lo and behold, we have this team event and somebody showed us how to do it, and I didn't even have to do the math, which was great. All right, so I'm just going to add some smaller mushrooms right maybe behind them, sort of. Let's see. I have to decide. Yeah, I'm going to tuck it in right behind it. I would recommend as well, at least if you craft like me, don't stick this in an envelope as soon as you make it, because if you're like me, you're going to get glue everywhere when you're gluing all these tiny pieces down. So don't be like Kate, let it dry. Let it dry and then stuff it in an envelope. Give it a day. I've got a gluey mess at the back of this actually. All right, you could use dimensionals, I suppose. That would take care of that problem pretty quick. All right, let's see. Okay, one more orange mushroom. So these might be my favorite. Look at how adorable those are. I love them. I stamped these ones in Pumpkin Pie and Early Expresso. So the big toadstools, Poppy Parade in first and second generation. The smaller ones in Mambo Melon, first and second generation, and then these really tiny ones in Pumpkin Pie. All right. You don't want to have fat fingers when you're trying to stuff this stuff in. That's my problem. My fingers are, I don't have little fingers. Okay. It's all right. I can do this. I think I've glued my finger to the cardstock. Okay, here we go. So I'm just checking once in a while to make sure that where I've placed everything, I'm still going to be able to close this flat. So this one little mushroom didn't like where I put it. So I'm going to actually put it in front of that big mushroom. And then I will glue down some of this grass. And I'll cover that up. All right. Yeah, literally. I literally was gluing my hands to this cardstock. All right, I'm going to snip off this end because I don't want the grass to taper off. I want to be able to put it right up against there. I'm going to cover the stem of that mushroom. Oh, Carissa, when you made yours, you added dimensions to the back of the front flap. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. All right, which set did you use to make your pop-up card? I saw it. I'm sure I saw it. Now my brain is not working. Shocking. All right, so I've just added a little bit of grass. You can still see the Melon Mambo, but I'm just going to add another layer of grass and hopefully cover that pink a little better. Not a big deal if it's not perfectly covered because I still got a few elements to add. All right. The grass actually might have been handy if I added that to the strip before I glued it in there. If I make this again, I might do that. Okay, now I have got 3 leaves and one more set of mushrooms. I'm going to add these to the front part of the box. And I kept these out for last because I wanted to have some elements right at the front, but I didn't want them to be very tall because I don't want to take away from that main mushroom scene that I've already built. So I'm just going to add these a little bit lower down. And you know, if you wanted to really fill in this box, you could add another strip of that cardstock to the inside and decorate 2 layers, and it would be so full with whatever you were decorating with. It would look beautiful actually with flowers. It would be like a really full box of flowers, flower pot. Anyway, I'm tempted to try this again and add 1 more strip of cardstock and just go crazy. I need a lot of time to do that though, because there's a lot of pieces. All right, one last thing to glue on, and then I was going to stamp my back piece of cardstock and glue it on the back, but I'm going to do that later because I left my chamois downstairs and I don't have any clean stamps. So that's going to come after this live. All right. My fingers are stuck. All right, I'm going to suggest when you make this, you get yourself some baby wipes or something because I've got really sticky fingers from gluing this. Okay, so Carissa, were you put your dimensionals like in between, oops, this flap and this flap? That is a really good idea. And then it's still folded flat when you pushed it down? Okay, so this is our little pop-up box. Yeah, 1 more strip would be perfect actually because it would really fill it in. And the one thing I do want to add is a little tiny bee trinket. And I am going to add that right here. So I'm just going to give you a good look at this box before I add the bee, because once I add the bee, I'm going to weight it down so it sits up, obviously, and it folds flat. And this is going to fit in your regular envelope. Now I shouldn't be stuffing this in because my fingers are so sticky, but I want to show you it fits in a regular envelope, which is so clever. So clever. All right, tiny bee, and then the card is pretty much done. I just need to add the back piece. Now, I forgot to mention that when I listed out all the supplies that I was using tonight, I mentioned Pecan Pie cardstock, and I did use that. I used it to punch out some of the stems for the mushrooms. So if you're wondering where that was, because I said I was going to use it, I did. You just didn't see me use it because I prepped all these elements because that's what takes so long about this card. All right, now I'm just going to add 1 little bee to that glue dot. And then all I'm going to do is weight it down with a block, if I can find one. And then I'm going to let that sit for a couple minutes, and that little bee trinket is not going to go anywhere. All right, so that's it. That is our 3D pop-up card for our kickoff for the Terrific Toadstools February card class at home. So thanks for tuning in. I really hope you enjoy this project. And next week, I'll be using, obviously, Terrific Toadstool Bundle again. And we're going to do more of a beginner card with stamp, ink, and paper. And I will be using the little masks that I made. So if you want to craft along, you might want to go ahead and cut yourself out a little mask from your set. Just add some glue dots to the back and then let it sit and dry for about 48 hours. And then those little glue dots are going to get tacky and it's going to work really well. You can use Post-it notes as well. But I'm going to stick this right in I don't know where I put it. Oh, yeah. So what I do when I make masks like this is that I just stick them on the inside of my stamp case. And that's where it's going to live. And I can use it over and over again because it lasts a really long time. So it's super handy. I don't even remember where I learned that from, but handy little masking trick. All right, so thanks for tuning in for this card project. If you guys make it, pop a picture in the comments. Let me see what you come up with, because this is adorable. And then next Thursday, we'll do stamp, ink, and paper with the same bundle. And there is a link for the Terrific Toadstool bundles. If you're watching on Facebook, there's a link somewhere in this live. There's a link for the Terrific Toadstool bundles. If you don't have it and you are in Canada, you can click that link. You can shop my online store, and then I'm going to be sending you the card kits to make all 4 projects that we'll be doing for February's card class at home. And I've got 3 designed and 1 more to design, which I'll be doing tomorrow. So everybody who's already ordered from me, you're going to get those kits in the mail way sooner than you did for the cake celebrations card class at home in January. So for those of you who did get the kits for the cake celebration card class at home in January, I hope you've received your packages yet. If you haven't, you should get them any day now. We had some snow, so it might have held things up with the post office. We still got snow in Isuk, actually. It's chilly. Anyway, I think that's it. So everybody have a great night. I will post the measurement comments in the comments of this video. And then I'll also post a picture of this project with the photo of the measurements as well. So it's going to be easy to find. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to find the measurements right in the description of the video. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. And I hope everybody has a really great night. See you soon.